Hey everybody, I am A.R. Mar, and what I watched today is Book 2, Chapter 15 of Avatar The Last Airbender, The Tales of Ba Sing Se. This is a really cool episode with a lot of different subsections, each written by a different writer, and makes for a very delightful blend of stories. Some happening at the same time, and some happening at other points in the day, but it all seems to more or less be centered around one or so days. We start off with the tale of Toph and Katara, and everyone's grooming themselves for the morning. Aang's shaving his head, Sokka's shaving his mustache, and unlike me being he's a young man, he only has a few stray hairs, but I'm sure he's quite proud of them. Katara puts her hair up, even Momo is taking his time to groom. Toph, however, is still dead asleep, and Katara is less than impressed by Toph's laissez-faire attitude towards grooming. I get the feeling this is like Toph rebelling now that she's free of her constant handlers. There's no one, constantly taking care of her, forcing her to wash up, forcing her to act like a lady. So she's kind of being like, you know what? I don't care. I like being dirty. I like being me. She's also then far less than impressed with Katara's suggestion for a girl's day out. But she goes along with it. I kind of like her reluctance, but she's still kind of going, it's like, you know what, okay, I'll try this. I'll give it a shot, I'll come with you. Katara takes Toph to a day spa, which I sort of, let out by my slip of the tongue there. And, it's like they're sort of bonding there. Toph resists at first. When they try to give her a pedicure, she ends up, slamming the attendants away with her bending. But after a bit of silliness and a bit of relaxing, they both, they both started to bond a bit more and gel. I mean, they've already been gelling, but it's kind of fun to see them just getting to relax with each other and be like, okay, this is good. It's just a fun little relaxing tale of them having a good day. And at the end, Toph is really enjoying herself. Her mood is quickly ruined as they leave the spa, and they're teased for, the over-the-top makeup that they're wearing by a bunch of girls. And one of those girls mentioned something called a poodle monkey. I so wish I could see that. I mean, you guys know by now how much I love the different, fauna in this series. So that kind of got me going, ooh, poodle monkey? What's that look like? But anyway, on the point there, these other girls mock the pair quite harshly, and, you can tell it's really getting to Toph. She uses her bending to drop them in the river, and Katara sends them downstream. And then afterwards, Toph's trying to be, strong, and admittedly, they didn't handle it in the most mature way, but, they are still kids. And, it's Toph's trying to act strong, and she's like, oh, I don't care what other people think. But you can sort of hear her sniffling, and it's a great little touch. Katara kind of pauses and goes, it's you're very pretty. It's don't let them get to you. I think you're very pretty. And, Toph, you can see that really, pulls Toph's spirits up. And I love that moment because, as much as Toph, says, I don't need anyone else to validate me, I don't care what I look like, I like me, it's still nice sometimes to hear from other people that you look good. And I also love the line they end on, a great line from Toph. I'd return the compliment, but I have no idea what you look like. I do love how Toph just jokes about her blindness. It's not a source of weakness, it's her source of strength. And that is a great thing that they weave into her character, and I love every time we see it. Next we get the tale of Iroh. We join Iroh in the market, buying a woven basket for a picnic. He shows off his knowledge of plants by shifting a moonflower to partial shade, which apparently it prefers over direct sunlight. And it was, starting to wilt, but now it just flourishes because he put it in its proper habitat. Later, he runs across a little boy who is crying, and, his mother's desperately trying to calm him in the marketplace. He borrows a guitar from a stand and just starts singing an old song to, calm the kid down, and gets the kid to smile, and it's a great moment. We're seeing a lot about, Iroh's little, the bits of Iroh that make up Iroh. All these different things that we didn't really know much about him, but now we're seeing, he knows plants, he's good with kids. I mean, we've seen, some hints of the good with kids part before, but it's kind of nice to see it all being, compiled here. He later comes across some kids playing a soccer-like game of earthbending that looks so cool. Like, it is just awesome. Like, they're making ramps to move the ball along and, like, bouncing it around. Unfortunately, it bounces a little too wildly for them to control and destroys someone's paper window. Now, like, at first, Iroh is being, like, the honorable thing here is to, say you're sorry, help restore the window. And then he sees how large and very temperamental the owner of the window is, and he's like, or in this case, run! And just takes off with the children, like, running after him. They all split up different directions, and it's just a hilarious little moment. He hides from the guy in an alley and runs into a mugger. Now, Iroh, instead of panicking, he's just like, your stance is way too weak. You're not threatening at all. And then he just knocks the mugger on his ass and takes his knife. And, like, it's... What I love about this scene, though, is that he shows the man compassion. He's like, you know what? You don't look like the criminal type. And they share a cup of tea as they discuss the mugger's options in life. And, the mugger's like, I never thought I could be a masseuse. You really believe in me? And, I was like, of course. I think you'll be wonderful. And, he's like, the guy's like, wow, nobody's ever, like, said they believe in me before. And Iroh has a great line here that I really feel like more people need to hear and understand. While believing in yourself is great, a little help from others is a blessing. I felt like that a lot too, like, as much as I try to summon self-belief and, like, the belief that I am great and I can do things, it always helps to get a little encouragement from others, to have others say, like, I believe in you too. After all, after a bit, if you're constantly going, I am great and I can do things, it starts to feel a little like you're being, like, what's the word? Full of yourself, like, a little too confident. But having others sort of, like, echo it, makes it a lot easier to believe that, yeah, you really are capable. As the day ends, Iroh ascends to the top of a hill and does a little ritual. Turns out, today he is celebrating his dead son's birthday. Tears run down his cheeks as he sings the song he used earlier to calm the crying child. And you can see, like, this moment is so powerful. You see how much the loss of his only child still hurts him. He has spent his son's birthday helping others, but as he says in this last scene, it still hurts that he wasn't able to help his son. It is a really emotionally powerful moment, and again speaks so greatly to the character, because he spent this entire day, instead of mourning, like, he allowed himself some time to mourn at the end, but he also spent the entire day helping other people, being kind. And in a way, like, I feel like that's another way to honor his son's memory, to make the day special and to make other people feel important. I just love Iroh as a character. Right after this, we move on to a lighter story with the tale of Aang. We join Aang as he's gliding into the city. He lands in a run-down-looking area that contains a great many caged animals, all of which are, like, totally fascinating to me. I mean, you have literal dragonflies, a baboon-faced bison, this armadillo tiger thing, and something called a rabroo that's like a rabbit kangaroo. And we find out that this is a zoo, and it's run down with tiny cages because it's receiving no funding. And, the guys in charge of funding are like, well, you have no visitors. And the guy running the zoo is like, well, part of the reason I don't have visitors is because the place is so shabby and the animals all look so depressed. Nobody wants to come see depressed animals. And, like, he says to Aang, like, he wants to be kinder to them. He wants to give the animals better lives. Give them some room to run around and at least, like, be able to take better care of them. And Aang, like, at first he's like, don't worry, I'm great with animals. I can totally help you with this. He lets them all out at once, causing a mass panic in the streets as, like, the animals just run wild, destroying stuff, and the rabroo gets into, guess who? Cabbage Guy's cart. And at first the guy, like, it seems like they're going to go back to the running gag, and this is kind of the running gag, but they invert it again, where he's, like, he starts going, my cabbage! Forget it. And just sits nearby, like, moping. And I just love that. Like, every time they bring this guy back, they do something different with him. And that's the best way to do a proper running joke. Is you don't do the exact same thing every time. You switch it up and you keep it fresh. So Aang ends up using the bison whistle in his airbending to like amplify the whistle's effect, to pull in all of the rampaging animals that he let out and lead them out of the city, including a really cute looking like tortoise seal thing that I just loved seeing that. It was so adorable. And like, yeah, I am so geeking out over all the fauna in this little story. And Aang gets them out of Aang gets the animals out of the city and then uses his earthbending to terraform some, it looks kind of like farmland, but it's hard to tell, into a new like sectioned off zoo, which, you know, I'm not sure how secure the enclosures actually are to keep the animals in, but still, it looks excellent, and he did like a great job. Except his whistle accidentally also brought in some house pets with the actual zoo animals. Oops. Anyway, it's a great, like, funny little story, and I really like that they put this here because, you know, it's like after that really, like, serious, sad bit with Iroh, we've now gotten this, like, really light bit with Aang, and it just, like, it really helps keep you from getting, like, too bogged down in the sadness. We got that emotionally powerful moment, now let's have something fun to balance it out. And I've said it before, Avatar is great at that. Next up is the tale of Sokka. So, his starts at nighttime, and he's strolling down the street, playing with his boomerang a bit, and he happens to find a window into a room where a bunch of cute girls are reciting poetry to each other. And this cart animal nearby kicks him, and he falls, like, right through the window. And of course all the girls are sort of giggling like, wow, this buffoon just fell through the window. And he makes a little rhyme as once he gets up, and they, like, that's basically what sets them giggling. And of course, Sokka being Sokka, he's immediately enamored by these pretty girls. I still seriously, like, I think the term is ship him and Suki, but it is kind of hilarious seeing him being like, pretty girls and they're being interested in me. I must impress them! And then he, like, he gets in a rhyme insult battle with what looks like an older girl or perhaps their teacher. And it's an interesting and clever scene between the two, and Sokka is keeping up quite well. I obviously won't recount it word for word, but definitely watch it again if you have the DVD or Blu-ray. It's a great scene. And, like, Sokka's verses are a little more crude. He acts a lot like the cheering monkey he's accused of being, sort of trying to play it up for the crowd. It's when he seems to win, he gets too full of himself, and the young ladies aren't laughing anymore. Because instead of, like, you know, playing the fool and being funny, he's just saying, look at how great I am. And he gets forcibly ejected from the club. That's where we leave Sokka, and we go into the Tale of Zuko, one of my favorite little sequences in this episode. We start with Zuko and Iroh working at the tea shop, and Zuko is under the impression that a regular customer of theirs is, like, you know, aware that they're Fire Nation and spying on them. And he's like, you know, he's like reporting this to his uncle, and his uncle is like, seems to be playing along at first. He's like, yeah, she's been in here every day. I think she has a crush on you. And, like, Zuko is just like, what? No! Like, he is totally adorably awkward. And, like, you know, it's like, I do find it kind of amusing that this is the second Earth Nation girl to be attracted, like, right to Zuko. And, like, you know, he's barely able to respond as she comes up and introduces herself. Her name's Jen, and she is very, like, straightforward and bold, and I like her. Like, she just asks him out, like, you know, it's like, would you like to do something with me later? And Iroh, like, because Zuko isn't able to respond, fills in for him and is like, he would love to. And, like, it is just a fun, like, little cute moment. Later, when it's time for their date, Iroh forces Zuko out of the tea shop, and he's like, he has his hair done, and he's dressed in a nice suit, and Jen almost immediately messes his hair back up. Like, she likes him looking like him, so, and that was a really cute moment, because Zuko's like, it took my uncle 10 minutes to do my hair, and she just sort of shrugs it off and, like, you know, takes him away, and it's, like, it is adorable. And Zuko is just wonderfully awkward on the date. There's one point where the waiter calls her his girlfriend, and he, like, you know, like, responds really loudly and shocked, she's not my girlfriend! And, like, yeah, major no-no, Zuko, but still, it was, at least you were cute doing it. And, it's like he comments on her appetite, another, like, don't do that, like, that's kind of rude, but she seems to take it well in stride, like, I don't know, she seems quite aware that he doesn't know what he's doing, and it's kind of amusing her to some degree. He's really bad at making conversation, and at one point when he's trying to figure out, like, what to tell her about, like, where his uncle and him lived before and why they traveled so much, he claims to be a juggler, and she's like, well, how about you show me? Hands him a bunch of stuff, and he's like, basically ends up dropping most of it on his head. And it's, like, all these first date blunders are so much funnier because Zuko is normally such a serious character, so seeing him so out of his element and unsure what to do is hilarious. She tries to show him a really romantic spot, but the lanterns in the square aren't lit, and they're what really makes that fountain shine. Zuko, like, he seems to have this moment of, like, weakness. He really wants to, like, make her smile. So he has her close her eyes, and she keeps them closed while he uses some quick firebending to light all the lanterns. The look on her face as she sees what he did for her, it is, like, she asks, but she doesn't demand how he did it. He doesn't answer, but the look on her face is just so... like, that is just, like, wow. Like, you can tell how much it means to her that this boy, like, went out of his way to make her fountain shine. And, like, it's like, that's the, like, big proper thing that Zuko did. And then, like, it looks like she's about to kiss him, but he stops her. He's like, here's a coupon for free tea. Like, he's afraid of letting this girl get close. But then she just tells him, it's like, hey, you had me trust you, now you have to trust me, close your eyes. He does so, and she kisses him, and in a really cute moment as she pulls away, he moves forward to kiss her back, then he suddenly pulls away. He's afraid to let her in, and he runs at this point. Like, he's just scared of letting someone close. Of loving someone, it seems. He runs home, and, like, Iroh asks him how his night is as he slams the door. Then he opens him slowly and says, it was nice. And then closes the door again, and that's where Zuko's chapter ends. It's kind of cute, like, I mean, this was really adorable, and I love seeing Zuko in this so, like, different from his normal situation. But it is just so fun to watch. Anyhow, the final tale, and I'm sorry this episode is going a bit long, but with all the different tales, there's been a lot to talk about. The final tale is the tale of Momo. Momo starts off with a dream about Appa, and he's woken by a thunderstorm outside. He then, he finds a tuft of Appa's fur in Sokka's purse, his satchel, and, he sees a thundercloud float by outside with sort of a shadow like Appa, so he chases it, and then he's like, oh, that's not Appa. And then he sees a fluffy mass in the distance that looks like his friend. He goes to investigate it, only to find a tree. Momo's starting to get a little, discouraged at this point. He lands to take a drink, and he disturbs some alley cats. And then we get a really fun, high-energy chase scene with them, where, Momo remembers he can fly, but these cats, this is their territory, and they're agile. So they quickly get up on the roofs and knock him back down. So he tries to escape in a crowd of humans, and ends up getting roped into a dancing monkey show. And Momo can dance, which is freaking awesome. I love that. And then, as the show ends, the cats jump him, and they get captured by a meat seller. Now, they're taken to a butcher shop where, for a moment, we get to hear what humans sound like to Momo. It's cool. It's kind of like The Sims. It's kind of, it's a nice little touch, and I love that they put that in there. And then Momo, being the clever little lemur that he is, figures out how to unlock his cage, setting himself free. And then he frees the cats, basically goes well, he sees how distraught they are being in that cage. And he knows what fate, he's smart enough to know what fate awaits them. So he just goes, okay, I'm letting you guys out. Click. Lets them out. And as they're, they're kind of okay, you freed us, we're not gonna try to hurt you anymore. They're kind of accepting him. One of them steals the tuft of fur that Momo has been carrying around with him the whole time. The tuft of Appa's fur. Momo chases them, at first seeming to think that they're being mean, but they leave it in a very specific spot, and I don't think Momo realizes it, But as he curls up with the bit of fur, like all distraught that he still hasn't found his friend, he is in a footprint. He is in a paw print in the dirt, a large paw print, Appa's paw print. And this is where the episode ends, and I am psyched to see what they do in the next episode. I mean, Momo just found this big clue about Appa. So I'm kind of hoping that that's where they pick it up. That the others find Momo there. And the cat things were just adorable. Anyhow, this episode has gone on long enough. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.